started. So let's begin our session. Ross, can you tell us, first of all, in maybe it's a couple of sentences, what is Pathways really? If you're to describe Pathways to someone who doesn't know anything all about it, what would you say?
Well, how to describe it to a new member joining a club is that Pathways is a purpose-designed education system with the new members' aspirations of what they want to do in Toastmasters or why they're coming along, and it's tailored to them. And you've got 10 paths to suit whatever reason that you're coming to Toastmasters. And every path develops your presentation, communication and leadership skills while achieving your individual goal, which is reflected in the path.
Okay, so it's essentially a program that helps people develop their leadership and public speaking skills, but sort of presented in a format of paths, and
yes.
Path being your particular interest or specialty.
Exactly. Whereas the old system, or the traditional, as some people call it, I call it the old education system. You had to start off with your competent communicator manual, do your 10 speeches, and only 8% worldwide would complete those 10 speeches. Only 8% worldwide would achieve their competent communicator manual. Whereas
Wow.
This way, you're coming along and you're doing a specific thing. If it's coaching, team collaboration, strategic relationships, whatever is relevant to you personally or work-wise, you can pick a specific course, and the first couple of levels teach you the basics, and then you launch into this whole world of electives.
Okay. And what would you say is probably the benefits? Because you mentioned that before we had a traditional program, and you did mention some specifics as well, like statistics, like only 8% completed the Competent Communicator program, a manual, which is like a basics of public speaking. It's like 10 speeches just to gain competency. But that was replaced. It was replaced as of December of last year with Pathways. And so what was the thinking behind this? What's the benefits mainly why they brought about this new program?
Look, Ray, I love the Competent Communicator Manual, and I've given speeches about how it was the cornerstone of Toastmasters. The problem was people would get up to their 7th or 8th speech and then drop out of the organisation.
Right.
And the whole new program is designed to give recognition to people. You can complete paths levels 1, 2 and 3 and present the same number of speeches as the Competent Communicator Manual, and you're getting recognition every time. And this is so critical for new members. At my home club, Fremantle Gateway, last week, a member came back and he hadn't been to the club for 14 months. He's in the military, he's been on deployment. He came back and said, right, I've done 2 or 3 speeches out of Competent Communicator. I'd like to now get back into it and complete my Competent Communicator. And I said, why are you doing it? He said, well, part of the training, he's an officer in the Navy. He said, part of the management structure, I need to be doing Toastmasters to develop my communication and leadership skills. They have the leadership training in the Navy anyway. And he says, I need the bit of paper at the end of the day. I said, well, in your situation, I would not complete the Competent Communicator. I'd launch straight into Pathways, start from the beginning again, because after your first 4 speeches and 1 speech evaluation, you have a certificate. And then you can go on the next 3 speeches, you get another certificate. And he loved that concept because it's specific to what he requires for his workplace situation. So he's launching into Pathways, rejoining and launching into Pathways.
Right. So it sounds like what a couple of the benefits of the new program are, it's faster to get recognition rather than doing 10 speeches. You just do 3 or 4 and then you get some recognition. Plus that it's also very specific to your requirements. Like he probably took strategic planning or influence.
Exactly. And it's purposely designed for that. Toastmasters International have said that they need more recognition more often. And we do that everywhere in competitions, club level. We're always handing out certificates, but this way it's an internationally recognized certification that you receive, not a qualification, but certification that you receive, because Toastmasters is worldwide. And if you've completed level 1, 2 and 3, that is recognized worldwide. It is the greatest tool I think we've been given to to recruit new members. Because
Okay.
you just need to talk to them and find out why they're coming. And that maybe that they want more planning at work or leadership development, or they need to want to present better. And then you then target which paths they need out of the 10 paths. And then you can say to them, if you join our club and you let us program you in for your speeches, we can guarantee after your 6 months membership that you would have completed level 1 and you'll get certification for that.
Wow.
Even if it's a fortnightly club, I'm in a weekly club, my home club, but a fortnightly club, 4 speeches over 6 months, that's less than 1 a month,
Yes.
they'll be able to do it once every
That's
6 weeks. So once every 3 meetings for a fortnightly club. So no, that's wrong maths there, but you can guarantee anyone joining that they'll achieve something in 6 months. And what's 6 months out of somebody's life, and they're getting a certificate at the end of it.
That's true. That sounds great, like a great benefit indeed. And you did mention that there are 10 paths, and I'm sharing now a document. Hoping everyone can see it. And these are the 10 paths of pathways. We have dynamic leadership, coaching, planning, leadership development, motivational strategies, persuasive influence, presentation mastery, strategic relationships, team collaboration, and visionary communications. I'm going to be sharing this document in the chat so that everyone can have a copy, and you can take this away from the presentation tonight. But I have to say that 10 is quite a huge number. I appreciate the variety, but I'm just wondering, how do I begin? I'm supposed to choose a path. How would I choose something out of 10? What goes into the thought process of trying to figure out which path to take?
Right. Just before we leave this document that you've got up on the screen, I've actually got a hard copy in my hand here, and I've laminated it. And I've handed it out to all the clubs I'm a member of, to their VPEs. But it shouldn't just be the VPEs, but it should also be the VPMs, the presidents, and any senior member of the club or club officer should have a copy of this, so that when new visitors start talking to you about what are the 10 paths, you're not running around the club trying to find someone that knows about it. Even though you may not be into pathways as much as others are, you as a leader in your club need to know it to talk to new members. Because anyone that's joining, they have to go into pathways. There is no option. So you have to become conversant with those 10 paths. And they're promising to release shortly the humorous path as well. So there'll be 11, right?
Oh, wow. That's a new one to me. Okay.
Yes.
Go on.
Now, how to choose a path? Well, it's quite simple. When you register when you join Toastmasters International as a new member, or as an existing member, you've got your path you can take up, you do a survey. And the survey comes up with the top 3 and top 1, but another 2, that the questions you answer, they try and get out of you from the questions of what you should be doing, which path you should be taking. And I'm currently enrolled in 4 paths.
4? Wow.
4, yes. And every time you go and join a new path, you have to redo the survey. So I've played around with the survey a little bit, the quiz that they give you, and I've purposely tried to skew it to go into a particular way, but they're better than I am because they keep coming up with the correct answers at the end. So it is very well done. But even if they recommend the 3, you don't have to choose one of those 3. It is all about members having the choice, and you've got the choice of 10 paths, and then you can choose either the 3 that are recommended or one of the other 7 paths. So you're not bound by that quiz. It's up to everyone. And new members get the link and they can progress through simply to select their path. But again, you need members in the club very conversant with the methodology, because some people aren't that computer literate and they need help with it to get them through that initial stages.
I see. So going back to what you mentioned about the quiz, because you've gone through it 4 times, you said. So, and you reckon that it's pretty spot on in terms of the recommendations, no matter how you try to skew the answers?
I think it was an excellent quiz. There's quite a few of the quizzes in the actual different parts, like what leadership style you've got and what speaking communication style. I think I've learned a lot from those quizzes. Yeah, it's a well-developed program.
Well developed. Fantastic. Now, here's another thing, because I know some people who don't like to be told what to do. There's some people just like that. You know, the quiz tells them you can take one of these 3 paths, and they just don't like taking recommendations. They want to figure it out themselves. What other options are there for people to really, especially those who really want to do some research, they really want to go through each path and figure out absolutely everything that they need to know before they decide to choose it? What are there other resources that they can get a hold of?
We don't actually have the resources, but this is worldwide. And how many districts? We've got 114, 15 resources, districts out there. And I'm holding in my hand a District 72 matrix that has been created. And in it, it's got all the paths across the top and all the projects on the side split up into the 5 levels.
That's fantastic.
And that way you can see what is a required project in each level and what electives are there. It doesn't go into the details of each of the electives. However, on the District 17 website, you can access the evaluation forms for all of these projects.
I see.
Marry the 2 together, you'll be able to see what's in the different projects and what's required. However, I strongly recommend that somebody in every club becomes a champion of pathways. They need to get through to level 4 and level 5, because every time you get into the next level, you open up everything for you. So for instance, once you get through level 1 and 2, which are the real basics about public speaking and your communication styles and leadership styles, then once you launch into level 3, you can access all of the electives in level 3 that are relevant to your path. And for me, being in 4 paths, I can open up 90% of all the electives. And again, once you get into level 4, the same thing happens. So you can, and level 5. So you can see actually what is comprised in each of the projects.
I see. Was that really your intention? That's why you got through 4, so that you can actually access everything and see everything?
Definitely. I was on a mission from day one, because I was a pathway guide and I needed to see what was there if I was going to do my job properly as a pathway guide. And even though our time as a pathway guide's still expired, I'm still helping my clubs, as all the pathway guides should be able to do, helping their clubs with their newer members joining.
Fantastic. That's well done. Thank you for doing that, Ross. I also want to add that the document I have here, it does show the breakdowns of the per path, like what are all the projects inside it, including the electives. Although I'm curious to see about that matrix. Do you happen to have a soft copy of that? Maybe is that something that we can share with everyone?
Ray, I can email that to you tonight.
Fantastic. And then I can email it out to everyone as well, so that we'll all have a copy of these resources. So I'm just curious as well. So we know that you've taken 4 to basically broaden your reach and your knowledge of pathways. But I'm just curious, what are those 4 paths you've chosen, and why those in particular?
Right. Well, the first path I took was persuasive influence, mainly because I was the club sponsor of Persuasive Speakers Toastmasters in Perth. And so I need to go down that path, because that's what the club's all about, persuasion. First and third Wednesdays, below 43, if anyone's interested in the city. So I needed to do that path because I was the club sponsor, so I needed to know more about persuasive influence. Plus it's relevant to work because I'm in sales. And next to that is presentation mastery.
Okay.
The reason I joined Toastmasters was because I wanted to speak. I wanted to somewhere to present speeches. And so I went for the presentation mastery.
Fantastic.
But what's happened is, because I present a lot of speeches each year because I'm a member of quite a few clubs, I needed to branch out and have another path to slot in my speeches, and it was effective coaching, because I thought coaching would be relevant to work. So again, it was trying to do something relevant to work. And I find if you're doing just on the spur of the moment, you're at a club, someone drops out of a speech, I've got the evaluation forms there. I can quickly do an icebreaker, or the evaluations part 1 or 2, or the research speech quite easily. And then a friend of mine is in Toastmasters doing a team collaboration project. And so I've sort of thought, well, if he's embarking on something like that, I should be doing the same thing, so we can both bounce ideas off each other.
That's fantastic. Right, so team collaboration, your
Yes.
fourth one. Fantastic. They're quite varied as well. I've personally chosen the presentation mastery, so we're aligned in that sense, but I haven't chosen my second path. So I'd be curious to hear about your experiences as well. Could you take us tell us about your journey through each level, particularly with, let's talk about level 1 first. You've done 4 paths, and I believe level 1 is the same for every path.
Correct.
So it's basically the fundamentals. So you have to do an icebreaker, you have to do an evaluation and feedback speech, a project, plus a presentation, research and presentation project as well. What was it like doing it all at the same time? Because effectively you enrolled in 4 paths at this, more or less at the same time, or at least in the same year, and then you had to do the same level 1 speeches again, or at least the same level 1 project. So wouldn't it be better to, let's say, finish a path, and then when you start a new path, that's when you start the fundamentals again, and then you can see your improvement there. I'm just curious about your thoughts on level 1.
This is an interesting aspect of pathways, because I'm in level 4 in 3 of the paths. Right? So I'm doing level 4 and level 5 speeches. So if I'm called upon, and some of them can be 20, 30, 40 minutes long, or 6-month projects. So
6 projects.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. So if I was to go to a normal club and I want to do a speech, because I joined Toastmasters just to give speeches, I can't give a speech on a subject that I want to talk about if it doesn't fit some of the others. So I've had to start a new path. I'm working on an old company communicator manual as well, and a couple of the old advanced manuals. So it's trying to balance it. And if you're called upon to do that extra speech, you may have to join the extra path, which I don't think is that bad, because it does open up at the higher levels, in 3, 4, and 5 levels, different projects that you can embark on. In the old traditional system, you only had to do your icebreaker once on your path to a DTM. In this system, you have to do your icebreaker and the evaluation speeches, plus the research speech, twice. And I don't think that's a bad thing, because even in the old system, I always used to recommend, once somebody's completed the competent communicator and it's launched into the advanced manuals, at some stage, go back and revisit the competent communicator manual, because that teaches you the basics. And I think Toastmasters designed it this way, that you need to complete 2 paths to be suitable as the educational component to go for your Distinguished Toastmaster Award in Pathways, that you need to go back to the basics of those level 1 and level 2 speeches, so it reinforces the knowledge that you initially got. Because let's face it, when you launch on something new members normally, as they're so nervous getting through their icebreaker and the evaluation speeches, they may not be doing or presenting as good as they could have, or they're focusing on just getting the speech out of the way instead of focusing on the content and how to present. So I think it's a good system that Toastmasters implemented, that we have to go revisit it and relearn those basic skills.
And it's I'm just curious, like, what was the gap in between your icebreaker speeches and Pathways? Was it quite soon, like just a month apart, or fairly far in between?
Well, in my 4th one that I'm doing, even though I've done a few of the other speeches, I still need to do my icebreaker, and that it's when it suits the clubs that I'm in, when I can give the speeches.
I see.
But if you notice, I don't know if the others that are listening in, there's a lot of icebreakers out there at the moment. There's a lot of evaluation and feedbacks, part 1 and 2, and a lot of researching and presenting. And I've heard so many speeches about mentoring and your leadership skills and your communication skills, which I think is fantastic, because it gets back to what Toastmasters is about, developing those critical skills.
I see. So the fact that someone is doing them within, let's say, a few months of each other, it's not really that big an issue.
No, it's reinforcing the skills that they're learning from presenting those speeches. That's just my opinion. Others may have a different opinion on it, but I just think it's reinforcing.
Okay, fantastic. I assume that you're giving a different speech each time, right?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, that's good.
And that's another challenge in itself. Find something after 13 years in Toastmasters that somebody in a club doesn't know about you as an icebreaker. And that's my challenge every time. So present something totally new to them about an aspect of my life.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Or you can also go to a club you've never been to before. No one knows you, and that's your icebreaker.
Yeah, true.
All right. If anyone else has any question, just a reminder, you can feel free to jump in. If anything that Ross said that you didn't understand or you want to explore a little more, feel free to just unmute during the pauses and ask away. Or I'm also monitoring the chat, so feel free to type in your questions there. Okay, so just going back to each level, what about level 3? That's the interesting part, because that's where we start having electives and we start seeing a lot more choices. Like we have one speech in each level 3 that's like a core speech, core project of the path, and then you have electives. So I'm just curious to see, in terms of the electives, how would you describe them at level 3 across the 4 different paths? Are there lots of overlaps? Would you say that they are somehow supporting the path that they are on?
Right. I think it's very interesting how they've structured level 3 and 4 with the electives and the required speeches, or core speeches, as you referred to them, because the core speeches, the required speeches, some of them are specific to the individual path, which I like, because in the old system, you may have had to do speeches that you weren't really interested in.
For example, let's go to presentation mastery. So here in level 3, we start seeing these 2 electives come out here.
Yes.
So this looks like a good elective. It supports the path. So connecting with storytelling, visual aids, descriptive language, they all make sense. They support the presentation mastery, like what you'd expect from the course. But this is an interesting one.
To interrupt there, sorry, Ray.
Yes.
And people will see that this is not so different to the old system, the old education system. It's just been packaged differently. I think it's more comprehensive than the old advanced manuals, and the resources going through online, especially when you're learning about the different project speeches, you get far more benefit than the old traditional system. So they're just repackaging it into the 10 paths to make you focus, or the individual focus, on what's relevant to them in the path they want to do.
Okay, that's a good point to bring up. I'm just curious, I was just about to say about this project. This looks interesting. Make connections through networking. It doesn't sound like at the top of your head that this would be related to presentation mastery, and it's not a direct connection, unlike all the other electives. So I'm just curious about that design. Like, why would you have something like networking as part of the path? I'm wondering if you've seen also other instances in other paths where you have an elective which doesn't seem to connect with the path that it's in, but it's happened to be there as an elective.
I think what they're doing there with presentation mastery, it is to develop your speaking skills. And to develop your speaking skills, the end objective for a lot of people that choose that path would be to present either professionally, in their workplace, or out in the wider community. And how do you get the message out there that you are a presenter and you're available to do professional presentations? So I believe that's giving them the option, because you only have to choose 2 of these, giving their members that are doing that path the option of developing their networking skills so that they can make the world, or the networking world, through Facebook or any social media or whatever medium they choose, that they are available to present. Because presentation mastery, end objective for a lot of people is to be out there and present in the real world.
That's a good point. That's a good point to bring up.
And you see that in level 3, in level 4, the same thing. Creating a podcast, which will be explaining to you, explaining to people what you can do, building a social media presence, again, get out there, communicate. All of those are very relevant to positioning yourself in the real world to be out there presenting.
I've received feedback actually from some members when I mentioned about podcasts or social media that those are some of the intriguing projects that people want to get into because it's something that's never been done before.
Oh, look, right? The 3 that you've mentioned so far, making connections through networking, podcast, social media presence, blog, all that is just not me. And yet it's a challenge for me now, down the track, to actually launch into those at some stage.
Interesting. So I'm just curious, like in terms of the electives in level 3, have you, since you've done already all 4 paths for level 3, have you actually done these ones here?
Yes, I've done delivered social speeches. I've done that twice actually, and that's another part that I haven't even enrolled in because that's presenting awards and accepting awards. And that's such a critical thing in Toastmasters, especially with Pathways, because we're handing out at my home club, literally almost every meeting, a certificate for somebody completing a level. And there's an opportunity there for somebody to present the award by delivering the social speech and receiving the award, which is another aspect of delivering social speeches.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and then it's automatically happening in the club and you're developing that skill. When you're called upon at work to do it or in a social event, you develop that skill. And this deliver social speeches is 2 parts. You have to present 2 of those speeches, not just the one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 2 speeches involved there because they're short speeches.
I see.
I've done connecting with storytelling, using descriptive language, connecting with your audience, inspire your audience, understanding vocal variety. I think that's an active listening. I believe I've done all those.
Fantastic. I'm just curious. You intrigued me now with your home club. What is your home club?
Fremantle Gateway Toastmasters. Every Tuesday, 6 o'clock, Fremantle Bowling Club, every week.
Oh, that's amazing. Fremantle Gateway, they're a pretty strong club. So it would be interesting to visit one time and see actual presentation of the social speeches. Because I know in my home club, for example, it's just a presentation, like we give out the awards, but we're not mindful of making it into an actual speech, a social speech. That also, it's a skill in itself. So we're honoring person this way, and we're also, even when we accept the award, we also accept it in a speech format. So that's just not a practice done in our clubs. So it'll be good to see.
It all depends as well, Ray, if somebody's there willing to do a level 3 speech. Yeah, but I've done this at other clubs as well. I presented one at Persuasive Speakers. And the person responded by receiving the award as well, which was good.
I'm just curious also, because you're a member of many clubs, what's your sense of the level of adoption? So you're like way ahead of all of us in terms of the adoption of your progress in Pathways. What would you say, roughly, ballpark figure, where's everyone else in your club? Are they mostly in the level 2s or level 1s? Or level 3s?
1, 2s, and 3s. Really, it varies on the club and the frequency they meet. But for instance, in this month, we will have 4 new members at Fremantle Gateway on this last couple of weeks. They're all on doing the icebreakers and the next speech, the evaluation and feedback, part 1 and part 2. So they're all into Pathways. It's a natural transition because since December, 5th or 6th of December, everyone that joins in District 17 has to be in Pathways. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a great skill to convert, great tool we've got to convert visitors into members basically on the first night that they visit, if it's explained to them properly.
Okay. If it's explained to them properly is the key thing.
And that's why we need a champion in every club about the paths. Not having gone through and done all the paths, but giving an overview of the paths and how it can benefit them and fulfill their need of why they came to visit the club.
So it's a good point that you brought up. Like every club needs a champion. So how does one become a champion for their club if they're interested?
Well, the first thing, embrace pathways and get through, especially up to level 3 as soon as you can. The other critical factor is once you complete level 2, you are given the option of enrolling in an additional educational program, which is the mentoring.
Mm.
The Pathways Mentoring Project leaves the previous mentoring educational that we had in Toastmasters for dead. It is just awesome. And if you look at the screen that you've got, if you scroll down, and once you complete level 2,
which I have actually.
Yes, and on your right-hand side, it says suggested educational, and it is Pathways Mentoring Program.
This is quite new. I've never seen this before because it's just so I normally just click on the blue box, so I didn't notice this one before. So good thing that you mentioned that to me.
Yep, and you hit the request button, and then you can launch into levels 3, 4, and 5 of mentoring.
Oh, here we go. Pathways Mentor Program. So the mentor program is actually a path, just like here, because this is my path, Presentation Mastery. So the mentor program is a path in itself.
Yes, but saying it's a path in itself, it's only got the 4 levels, because you do a level 2 project on mentoring, then level 3, 4, and 5, which you choose if you want to do them. And you can see that, prepare to mentor, mentoring, advanced mentoring. It is an awesome project. I specifically wanted to do that early, so that's why I raced through. And I was mentoring our existing president of Fremantle Gateway, because he was the acting president for the last the whole of this year, basically.
Wow.
So I was mentoring him, and it is a fantastic project because you actually go through, and the protege, it's no longer a mentee, they're called a protege. They do a self-assessment. The mentor does a self-assessment. You have a communications log where you record every time you have communication with your protege. You have a protege success plan where they put their short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals, and you have a monthly checklist of meeting with the protege, between the mentor and the protege, and of course you're the mentor.
Right.
The great thing about this, it is a 6-month project.
Okay, 6 months.
A 6-month project, and at the end of it, they actually issue you with a certificate of proficiency for successfully completing the Pathways Mentor Program.
Wow.
I recommend everyone, or not everyone, but the leaders in the club, someone needs to go through this project, and then they can bring the whole program of mentoring into the club by using the protege's self-assessment, their goal setting, and the monthly checklist. So it's a way of regulating and making sure that members are getting the new members, the proteges are getting the correct mentoring that they need in the club. And that will reduce the seepage we have from clubs or members not renewing, and will also increase the amount of awards and achievements that the individual member will achieve because they're getting looked after at a personal level.
That sounds great, because I know, like, for example, in my club right now, in terms of the mentoring program for the old one, is practically almost non-existent. It's something that we really need to work on and improve. So it's good that
if anyone wants to learn about how to do the mentoring program, I'm the president of DTM Pathway Toastmasters. It's at Balmoral Hotel on the 4th Thursday of every month. We have got a system set up there now where every member is a mentor and a protege. So we have a 10-minute session, and then we swap over to the next 10-minute session that we only meet monthly, and everyone is mentored in the club, and everyone's a mentor and everyone's a protege. so that they all will achieve this award, but more importantly, learn the skills about how to be a good mentor during the whole system. So if you want to learn how to do it, come along to DTM Pathways.
All right, that's a good program. Thank you
Yeah,
for letting us know.
come along, see what we're doing, and then take it home to your own club.
Okay, thank you for that. Desmond acknowledges you. He says, thanks for the tip on the mentor program, Ross. I wanted to know more about this.
And the exciting news is, I've been told that they'll be, how you had that additional education program that you can choose on, they're bringing out a parliamentary one, which is basically a meeting procedure one. And that hopefully will be there by the end of the year. So we can all improve on our club meetings, district council meetings, and meetings outside in the real world as well.
I see. I'm just curious about the Pathways Mentor program. So I just launched it. When I launched it, it opened up this window, which is a document that I have to read through. And I would have thought that this would now open up the Prepare to Mentor. What would I need to do to open that up? Should I mark this complete?
Yes, mark it complete and go through the steps just like the normal Pathways project. You go through each different step.
Right, and then now I can activate this, and then this will launch just like a normal Pathways project. Okay, correct. Fantastic. Something new that I've learned today. Thank you, Ross. Going back to the higher levels now of Pathways, and the level 5s in particular. You said that you're in level 5 of one of your paths?
Yes. And
which one is that?
Persuasive.
Persuasive. So level 5 of persuasive. So I'm just curious, like, what is the project that you're doing there? If I can just bring up the document here, and then let's look at persuasive influence. So level 5 here would be a high performance leadership.
And there's 3 of the parts, and this is once you have this document that I'll send to Ray tonight, you'll have a better overall picture of all the parts all in one document. I enrolled in 2 parts and realised that both of them had high performance leadership projects in, so which are major projects, and I'm coordinating under the guidance of Patricia, our district director, the district council meeting, which is an online meeting at the end of September. So that's been a challenge in itself, but there's other high performance leadership roles. And the interesting thing is, in the old traditional system, everyone had to do a high performance leadership project, which didn't suit all people. Whereas in Pathways, only 3 of the parts you're required to do a high performance leadership project. So you can go through to level 5 without actually having to do one.
Right. But the high performance leadership in the traditional program, is that the same as this one? Are they equivalent?
Very similar, except this one goes the next step up. It is, whereas the old one used to have present a speech about the concept of it, and then you had to present a speech at the end, and also then have your guidance committee sign you off. Whereas now they go a little bit more detail. Like everything in Pathways, it's so much bang for the dollar. It's excellent. You have a project plan, a plan overview, and you have meeting agendas that record all the meetings. But the critical thing that they have is a 360-degree evaluation, which they've got in several of the level 5 projects. With the 360-degree evaluation, a lot of people would understand that from their work environment. But the same as you get evaluated for a speech, this is your committee that evaluates you. It's awesome. They evaluate you on your leadership, communication, interpersonal skills, teamwork and team building, problem solving, motivation and prioritization, and reliability. It's a 6-page document, and they evaluate you on all of those skills. So it is giving really good feedback. And for me, you'd get as many people as you could on your committee. Because if you can get back feedback from more people, instead of just 2 or 3 that you had to do in the past, it's more information that you can use to develop your skills. And that's a critical difference between the old high performance leadership and the new one, which is 360-degree evaluation. It's an awesome document.
It's an auction. All right. Thank you for that. I'm just curious as well, because in the traditional program, so everyone had to do an HPL to become a distinguished Toastmaster. Now, in the new program in Pathways, to become a distinguished Toastmaster, in addition to completing 2 paths, there's also the club officer role that they have to fulfill,
Yes.
plus a district officer role.
Yes.
Is there also another high performance leadership project?
Yes, but I haven't completed the path, so I don't know what it is yet. So once we do get to that level, Ray, we could do another interview and I can tell you all about that.
So you mean that high performance leadership project, which will only appear after you complete 1 path?
Or 2 paths. And that's some people have complained about Pathways, that you don't see what's ahead and what's involved in the project. But that's why we need a champion in every club to have zoomed through so they can answer these sort of questions. And my next project is to complete that, complete the 2 paths so that I can then access the next stage.
I see. It's good that you're leading the way for us, Ross. I'm just curious, like, is there someone in second behind you because it sounds like
there's a lot of people that are in level 5. Like I know Dan Beatson, he's in doing level 5 projects, and yeah. Thing is, I won't be going for a Distinguished Toastmaster Award in Pathways for several years down the track, because they'll need to be doing another district officer role in the future to complete it. But I'm still fascinated by all the projects and all the paths. And I can see myself down the track completing all the paths, which I think everyone should do to get the knowledge.
I see.
The other one I'd like to talk about, though, which is a level 5 project, it's a requirement of the strategic relationship path, but it's an elective on every other path.
Okay, that's the strategic relationship, did you say?
Yes.
Okay.
Because with the level 5, you have to do 1 required project and 1 elective. And the elective that everyone that's a club officer and above that should be doing is leading in your voluntary organisation. We are all members of a voluntary organisation. We're members of Toastmasters. I presented this at Leading Lights at last month's meeting. And again, it is a fantastic project. It does say that you have to be a leader in your organisation for 6 months. So my recommendation is to start it at the beginning of your 6-month term as a club officer or an area director or a higher level position. Right. Again, the beauty of this project is it has that 360-degree evaluation. And for a club officer, that is your fellow club officers that are on the committee with you, your members, and maybe the area director. And for an area director doing this project, it'd be your club presidents and VPs underneath you, as well as your division director, who'd be doing the 360-degree evaluation. But every person in Toastmasters should be doing this project if they're in a leadership position as a club officer or above, because it is a level 5 project. But more important than that, you're learning it about how to be a better leader. And that's the whole point of it. It's not about getting the tick in the box to get the elective out of the way for your level 5 project. It is you learn so much about your leadership style, you reflect on yourself, and others reflect on you. It's one that should be compulsory, in my opinion. It should be back there with the icebreaker and the evaluation ones, because we're all in a leadership organisation, communication organisation, and let's learn and have the benefit of developing our skills.
That's true. Maybe we should make a requirement for all district officers to go through.
Well, that's why I've presented at Leading Lights, because again, we've got the mentoring happening at DTM Pathway, Leading Lights. That's where the area directors, they have their direct support by becoming a member of Leading Lights. That's why the club is there to support the area directors, and they can be doing this at every meeting. And 10 minutes after the meeting's concluded, everyone can sit down, have the monthly meeting, have the follow-up, and the 360-degree evaluation.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. All right. Thank you for letting us know about that, Ross. Just a couple more questions because we're nearing the end of our time together. Like I said, I'm asking all the questions here. If anyone attending tonight has any questions, feel free to jump in. I'll give you the opportunity to ask Ross some questions. Just a couple more questions. Let's say if I'm a new member and I want to go into Pathways, what would you suggest that I do to gain the maximum benefit from the Pathways program? What should I be doing?
Well, it's a bit like the member that came back to Gateway last Tuesday. I said to him, if you rejoin tonight, let me program you in for your speeches. You'll have a certificate within 6 months before the next renewals. I actually promised him you'd have a certificate before Christmas because we're a weekly club.
Right.
And I'd sit down with the VPE and program him in for his 4 speeches and his speech evaluation. And I guarantee him that he will get that certificate of completion before Christmas. But more importantly, I'd be his mentor, or somebody else in the club would be his mentor, to make sure that he is programmed in and it does happen. Forward planning is just so critical with Pathways. Otherwise, people will just go along aimlessly.
Right.
And they need to program it in.
Right. So it's really all about the member knowing what they want and setting a goal for themselves.
Exactly.
Yes. And then basically also receiving mentorship and accountability from the experienced members so that they will progress and achieve their goal.
Yes. And it's a bit like anything. I go to been to so many clubs and they say, oh, well, who would like to do a speech next meeting?
Right.
That's not good programming. That we need to program ahead, especially with Pathways, especially with the new Distinguished Club program, while we've got the dual systems happening of the old traditional system and Pathways. You need 4 level 1 speech, level 1 completions to achieve a goal. So you need to program those in.
That's right. Program it in. So even from the officers level, the VP level, they have to schedule the agenda in such a way that their members progress and they achieve awards and they achieve the educational awards, which helps them out.
Yeah. But more importantly, the member is achieving that certificate. They're achieving something and they're getting that benefit of their membership. Instead of going along and doing 3 speeches in 6 months' time, oh, well, I haven't done the evaluation, and then leaves the club. Whereas this way, we all know if you've been given a presentation and certificate, you're achieving something, the enthusiasm's there, you'll come back and you'll develop your skills. It's all about the members' goals, and we have to look after the members, but they need a path to go on, like Pathways, because they don't know how to program in to achieve their individual goals. They need guidance. That's what we need to be doing. That's where everyone needs to be a champion of Pathways, and someone needs in every club needs to do the mentoring so that they know how to implement strong mentoring programs in the club to look after our own individual members.
Right. Okay, thanks for that. My last question to you would be really more on a practical basis, because we have VPEs attending tonight, and they're wondering now, okay, what should I be doing in our club to ensure that Pathways is adapted without much pushback from our members? So how do we increase, especially for those whose members are, they're resisting it. They want to stick with the old program. Haven't registered into Pathways. So what should they be doing really to ensure that Pathways is adopted more and that it becomes successful in their club?
I was talking to Patricia Cruz the other night and Kevin Samsung the previous night, Program Quality Director Kevin Samsung, and they've just got back from the convention in America, and District 17 are leading the world as far as take-up of Pathways.
Is that right? Wow.
And Patricia or Kevin, if you're online, contradict me or confirm what I'm saying. And yet I thought we weren't, because I thought, like you, Ray, there is a bit of resistance at the club level. But I think it gets down to having a champion in every club to be able to explain to the older members and new members the benefits that they're going to receive from converting over to Pathways.
Mm.
As long as we're looking after our members, the system will work.
Okay. And by looking after our members, you're talking about the mentoring and then basically keeping our members accountable to achieve their goals in the program.
Yes. And a tip that we've implemented, Steve Barry and myself implemented about 4 years ago at Fremantle Gateway.
Mm-hmm.
We've called it several different names, but we call it the commitment speech. On the first meeting in July, we go around the room, everyone that's in the room, as a speech and ask them what they want to achieve in Toastmasters this year. And it could be a DTM, it could be a level 1, 2 and 3 in Pathways, or complete my old advanced communicator gold.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had answers, I want to have fun, I want to nail table topics. And it's getting down to why the members are actually there. And as whoever's running the session, the VPE is making notes on every person. We've got a little spreadsheet we do up.
Right.
And then in the first meeting in January, we go around the room and say, Ray, you said you were going to complete one whole path this year and you're still stuck on level 3. Do you need programming? Do you need help? Do you need mentoring? And we go through and reaffirm what their goals are. And it's all about the members' goals. And we've been doing that, and we're President's Distinguished every year. And it's not about President's Distinguished. We have met the members' goals that they've achieved, and it just flows through. So it's finding out what the members want and getting them to commit to it, and then we then help them achieve what they want to achieve. And the club's fine then.
That is fantastic. That's a really great strategy, because I know that I've spoken with I've mentored some VPs in the past and also mentioned to them that they should talk to each member and ask them what they want to do. Like when I was a VP myself, I actually called each one individually and asked them. So I had a better sense of what people wanted to accomplish. But having them doing it in one meeting where they just tell everyone, that's actually quite an efficient way to do it. And also the accountability.
Correct. And that's a critical thing. They are making a commitment, not only to themselves, which is the most important commitment, but they're also making the commitment to themselves in front of the club.
That's good. I think that's my biggest takeaway from our talk tonight, that we have to have commitment from members, and that's really the best way that they can maximize Pathways, to really set goals right ahead of time and to receive mentoring from more experienced members and accountability.
Just one more thing about that speech, you have to have somebody that knows Pathways so they can say, okay, Ray, can you do 4 speeches between now and Christmas? So you completed level 1. So you completed level 1. Can you do another 3 in the next 6 months? Of course. Right. Yeah. Well, that's level 2. How about another 2 or 3 speeches? You'll have it level 3 by this time next year. Pathways is the greatest way for individual members to achieve and reach their own goals. And the clubs will be right after that.
It is indeed. I'm just curious about the speech. Like when you tell everyone to give a speech where they tell their goals for the year, it's like a 1-minute speech, and they just tell everyone.
You just go around the room and ask each individual person, right? What are you going to? And then, of course, the facilitator can then encourage them to open up their horizons about what they can achieve.
That sounds awesome. I think I'll suggest that to the VPs in my clubs and let them know that that's a great idea. That's the best way that we can meet our members' goals and help them benefit from their Toastmaster experience.
And if you need anyone out there that's listening to this podcast, is it? Whatever. Let either Steve Barry or myself are more than willing to help out any VPE or club in structuring their commitment speech.
Okay, that sounds great. I would actually raise my hand already. I want to ask for that as well because I want to implement that in my clubs. And yeah, happy to. Do you have a document that you can share with us, or how would you go about explaining?
Maybe even come along and help you guys perform the role.
Okay.
Yep.
That sounds great. All right, we're running out of time now, but I'll still leave the floor open. If anyone has any questions, please use this opportunity now to ask Ross anything about Pathways. Silence means everything is super clear.
We've obviously covered everything, Ray. Well done.
I think you've done a good job yourself, Ross. You covered all the answered every single thing. I have nothing else to ask.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity, Ray, and give me a call about the commitment speech, and we'll get that organised.
All right, I will definitely give you a call after this. So thank you so much, Ross. I want to publicly thank you and honor you again, Ross. Thank you for taking one hour of your time to be with us tonight and educate us on Pathways. It's been really, really educational. I took some notes during our discussion and have a lot of good actions to take after tonight's discussion. Really, really good.
And actually, Ray, Steve's actually posted up in the chat room that he's got resources available about the DTM commitment speech or the commitment speech. So we're there to help.
Fantastic. So Steve, if you can send those to us, or maybe you and Ross can coordinate and send us those resources, plus the matrix for the talks as well.
Definitely.
Lovely. All right, everyone, that's it for today. I'll be emailing you the replays and as well as the topic for next session. And I can't recall off the top of my head, but yeah, you'll find out all about that in the emails to come. Good night, everyone, and thank you again, Ross.
Thank you, Ray, for organising it.
Right, no worries. Good night, everyone. Bye.